Hi, I'm Usha Raman. I am a coach and I help busy people find balance in their life. And it is an absolute pleasure here to be with Tam on the 50/50 podcast.
Welcome back to 50/50. I'm delighted to have my friend and colleague and coach, Usha, here today. Hello.
Hi, Tam.
How are you?
Very well. Thank you for having me one more time.
Honestly, I'm so delighted to have you. We often talk about the sunshine that you are, and I told you I chose this dress because I thought, what dress does Usha deserve as the light of my life? And I thought, this dress.
You're very kind and you look absolutely beautiful in it.
Thank you. It's very cool. It's very cool. Although they haven't been subtle, they've decided that they want to promote themselves in my cleavage.
So which you have, so own it. You know what I'm saying?
I've got it. They've got it.
Exactly. And I wore a bright dress for you too, so there you go.
There you go. Yeah, we were both feeling it. How nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
How nice. So we've had a quick chat over the phone, but we haven't seen each other for a while because you were having a fabulous international experience.
Yes, we did. It was very, very good. It was busy. Probably the busiest trip that we've ever done. But we ended up going to Scotland and then London and then Portugal and Japan and Singapore.
Right.
All in 5 weeks. And I think we had like 12 accommodations in that 5 weeks. So that was the part that was a bit manic. But, I think we thrived. So that was good.
Yeah. Martin said, actually, I don't know if I've ever thought I could go home now, but on this trip I thought I can go home now.
Yeah. We did promise each other never again. Like we've done it now. Like just next time, let's just pace it, darling.
Yeah, how nice. How nice. It's both a good problem to have, and I do remember times in my life when it's been so exciting I've just wanted a toasted cheese sandwich and a night in my own bed, right?
Yeah. And, we actually did do that a couple of days. We just went, you know what, we had such a busy time. We're just going to stay in the hotel all afternoon, and we did that a couple of days. And we had to weigh that out.
When you and Martin were here, and the reason you're back today is because we had a wonderful time, all of us talking, but of course Martin was talking about AI and the future of the world, so we did spend a bit of time there. And I said, Usha, can you come back so I can talk to you more about you? But he mentioned that you were going to have a tea ceremony in Japan, which caught my interest.
Oh, that was Koyasan. And if you've not been to Koyasan, I highly, highly recommend it. So it's like a monastic town, and you have to take the train, and then from the train you have to take a cable car, and you have to go up this mountain, and it's 7 mountains all together, and there's this valley, and the town sits amongst those mountains, and there's 100 monasteries within that town, and then just outside that monastic town is the actual town. And so we only had a night there, but my whole body was just feeling the energy of this place, these mountains. These monks have been, just praying and chanting, and that energy, that peace. My whole body felt relaxed, and I couldn't even really talk to Martin very much that whole day. I just went, I'm just blissing out, and he just got it. And I think he was doing his own sort of internal work in that space as well. And then in the morning we had meditation, we had a fire ceremony with the monks, and they had this amazing food, the best vegetarian food I've ever had. And I'm a vegetarian, and I eat a lot of tofu, and this was the best tofu I've ever had.
Oh, wow. That's a big call.
Yeah. So it was just magical. It was absolutely serene, and the whole air was just for you to breathe fully into your lungs, your lungs was just free, It was, So I kind of anchored that in my, now I'm anchoring that in my meditation. So that particular meditation that we did was the Ajikan meditation, it's called.
Yes.
So I've been incorporating that into my daily meditation practice as well, which has been absolutely fabulous.
You can feel it as you say it. You can feel the place. What religion are the monks in Japan in that particular place?
Those monks that we went to, they were Buddhists.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and it's esoteric Buddhism, it's called.
Esoteric Buddhism.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this same topic yesterday because I was thinking about when we're in Peru, and Peru is a very religious place. It has a mixed religion because the Spanish came in, and so there's a lot of Catholicism, but then they have the Quechua local native tradition, and the mountains have a very particular feel. And I was remembering this feeling of, I described it when I wrote about that experience by saying, there's a saying, and God will hold you in the palm of his hand. And that's what it felt like to be in the Sacred Valley. It felt like you were being held in the palm of his hand, particularly because of the elevation.
Yeah.
Fascinatingly, the ancient cultures there, the Incans, they used to do child sacrifice as a part of what they did. And I do not understand the connection between the peaceful feeling of the place and this historic tragedy.
Yeah, interesting.
Haven't made the link.
Yeah.
But that feeling. And this morning I was at the supermarket, and I was thinking about whenever I come back, I don't know if you had this when you came back to Perth, whenever I come back or come out of a place where you can feel the earth, feel the air, feel the spirituality, I have the same thing with Bali because of their very strong religious practice, very strong prayer practice. And then I'll come into Midland Gate and be assaulted by the life we live here. The noise, the falsity, the speed, the made-upness, the marketing. And I was thinking about it again this morning. Maybe I had a feeling what we were going to talk about. But, yeah, that difference between what it was like for you in the middle of those 7 mountains and what it's like, and how to, like you said, grounding your meditation, that how to keep that feeling of earthedness and realness in a sometimes not very real world.
Yeah. So, I mean, I use certain neurolinguistic programming techniques on myself to anchor, because one of the things that we talk about in NLP or neurolinguistic programming is this subject of anchoring, right? And there's many ways you can anchor yourself to things, right? You can anchor yourself to your spouse. You see them, you always feel like smiling, and you anchor that love, right? And you can have certain anchors in your life, like maybe this particular soup gives you this particular feeling. And so if you're looking for that particular motivation that soup can bring, then go and make that soup because you've anchored yourself to that soup. Like for me, it's a cup of tea or a cup of chai, and I get this sense of, so there's all these anchors we can have. Another way that most people might not be familiar with is anchoring an imprint of a feeling into your body, right? So when I'm in that particular meditational state or whatever, I might just put my hand on my, or a little finger on my pulse, and just have a certain type of depression, so that I can go, that's the feeling, and I'm anchoring into my body, and then I form this intention that all my cells are now absorbing this peace, they're absorbing this light, they're absorbing this serenity, this bliss, whatever it may be, and then I keep anchoring that, and then when I'm back, then I just go and I bring all those things back because now I've anchored it to my body. It's a cool little NLP trick that I find helps me a lot, and it's helped a few of my clients quite a lot as well. Yeah. So different ways to use anchoring is something that I talk about with my coaching sessions.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's a perfect segue, because what we thought we'd talk about today is you and your coaching work.
Yeah.
So we've worked together as colleagues. We've known each other in that way, and you have also coached me, which has been really wonderful. I found it amazing, actually. When you're working with people, when you and I work together, I felt like you were working sort of intuitively out of your toolkit. Now, I could have got that completely wrong, but how it felt to me was that you had all this experience, all this knowledge, and you were sitting with me, listening to me, and thought, right, what is going to best help Tam with what we're talking about?
Yeah, so I guess when you've done the work for quite some time and you've met so many different people, you understand different people's personalities, right? And like the first thing that we speak about a lot in coaching is cause and effect. Are you operating at cause, or are you operating at the effect of life? And if someone's operating at the effect of life and they think they're a victim or they're always complaining, then there's a whole bunch of other tools and foundational practices that I have to use with them first. Right?
Yes.
And you can get that from the conversation, from the language that they use, from how they're even sitting or how they're entering, how they say hello to me, right? You get a sense already right?
Yes.
And with you, you are somebody who's already living at course. You know, you're not at the effect of life. You are positive. You've got these tools that you are empowering yourself with on a daily basis. So for you, I kind of knew that, okay, we have to use a few different strategies. And in that space, there is Tam as the personality, and you know, she's the mum, she's the podcaster, she's the coach, and what are some of those things that need to meld together? So yes, there is that intuition that you do have to bring, because everyone is so different.
Yes.
But having said that, there are those particular strategies, those tools, and you just have to pick from your toolkit what is going to best suit this beautiful human being in front of me at this point in time, that's going to work best for them without them feeling it's an overwhelm of another thing that I have to do or another process that I have to do, but it's just right and a perfect fit for that person, like Goldilocks soup, you know, like that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So do you work mainly with coachees that come to you of their own accord? So they've decided to come to you?
Yes, that's mostly what I do.
Wonderful, because
Yeah.
we know that makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
With both of us
yeah.
having worked in businesses where coaching has been, I was going to use the word demanded. It's not probably the right word. You know, the coaching is a part of what's expected for the staff.
Yeah.
That can be very tricky, because
Yeah.
we know that how coaching works is the coachee wants something and we help them figure out how to get what they want or feel
Yeah.
how they want to feel. And if they're like, no thanks, then it
Yeah.
makes a tricky space to begin with. Do you ever think there's a time where you can start with a no thanks and have the person shift to wonderful, let's go?
So this reminds me of the work that we did with you guys, with the company that we worked together with
Yes.
on. And I think that, there is a company now that I also work with that give me the apprentice. So they are kind of there on their own accord, but it's also something work has sent them, right?
And are they often young if they're apprentices?
Yes, yes.
How interesting.
Yeah, they're younger. And even like with the work that we did, right? I think as long as people just want four things. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be understood, and they want to be loved, right? And if you can, as a coach, just embody that in itself is great. And there was one particular guy in that space that we worked with who was so against it. You know, he was very much I'm the man and I've got it sorted, and you know, that sort of an energy that he had. And I just had to show him that, look, I see you, I hear you, I understand you, and I love you. Of course, I can't say those words in a corporate setting, but by showing that person the first three things, he could tell that, oh, actually, I can be free and open with her. And then there was one, he actually came to my desk and I was sitting down and he just came up to me and I was like, oh, yeah, how can I help? And he goes, oh, they've asked me to step up. I might need some of that coaching again, you know?
Yeah.
And he had finished his sessions, and I think I had to come back and ask you, can I do one more with this person? So I love that moment, because that was somebody who was like completely against it at the training and just didn't really even want to participate, to like, oh, I think I need some more, you know? So, I think if you give those four things to people.
So what were the four again? Seen, heard, understood, and loved. I think when I'm coaching people around communication or difficult communication, one of the things I often say is love the person and set the boundaries, right?
Yes.
Because the thing that I think is the most magical is exactly what you said about when people they might be afraid, or they might think they don't need it, or they're thinking whatever they're thinking. And when we approach them loving them, that's where real magic can happen, right?
Yeah.
And I say to people, you can say anything to someone if you're loving them when you say it. You can challenge them, you can really put it to them, but you have to be loving them and respecting them and honouring them to be able to do that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
It can be very beautiful, can't it?
Yeah. And I remember, like, when you asked me to come and work with Discern for the client, that's the first thing you said to me. It's like, I think Usha can love those people there. I think I'm going to ask her. I don't know if you remember.
Right.
That's what you said.
I'd forgotten, but that's exactly what I said. I was so excited for you to come because I thought you will be able to love them, and what they need more than anything, in my opinion, not so humble, is love.
Yeah.
And I think that yourself, Kim, who worked with us, and then, of course, myself and Andy, I was writing to that particular company the other day to talk about the experience I had and we had with them. And one of the lines I put is, we had a good reputation with your staff, partly because of the work we did, but I think more so because they felt our care for them.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Absolutely.
They felt cared for when, businesses are tough and people think they have to be tough and it's all about the almighty dollar and these tough environments people are in,
Yeah. Well, we can bring balance to those tough environments. And that's one of the things that I think my work does, is like helping these busy people, because all of us are busy these days, right? We're always on to the next thing. There's deadlines and productivity and performance to think about, and then there's home life and family and extended family. Like, people are just busy, but in that busyness, can you find balance? And I think that's where a lot of my work has been, like helping busy people find balance. And a lot of it is that internal work, because who makes you feel unbalanced? Yourself. It could be because you think that you need to achieve and achieve and achieve because you're questioning your self-worth, right? Or it could be that you want to have a certain outcome in your relationship and you're not getting that outcome that you want. And that's because you have limiting beliefs about what love looks like or what marriage should feel like, So when you work on those things and then you allow yourself to flourish from the inside, the balance tends to follow, because then you lose the overwhelm, you lose the feeling of stress or the negative emotions, like the 5 major negative emotions we work with from the get-go is fear, anger, sadness, hurt, and guilt with the coaches, right? And then when you figure that out, and then some people have something additional. A lot of people carry shame, which literally turns off the learning centers in your brain. When you feel shame, you actually cannot learn. So how do we reposition that? And then you find that, when they let go of the shame, the balance comes back. I had somebody in a group coaching session once who used to be so harsh on themselves that even if he just dropped a key, he would swear and go, why did you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of that comes in. I really got to start examining people's language, how they use words, how they define their reality, and where their focus is at.
Yes, and becoming aware of that language. I think for a lot of us, we won't even realise what we're saying or what the internal dialogue is. As is life, I had the perfect clip come up yesterday on Facebook. It was a monk out of America. He was perhaps Chinese. I didn't get his name, but he was talking about the journey, the alone journey of healing. And he was saying, I don't mean you need to be alone. I don't mean that you need to not have relationships, but this process of what you're referring to or what we do in our work, the alone journey of what is it in me that's telling me a story that's not helpful, or what is it in me that's trapped in a particular thing that I'm saying to myself that I don't even realise I am. I think that not even realise I am can be really surprising. So one of my girlfriends who I love, she's also my hairdresser. This is the second time she got a shout out in 2 weeks. Hi, Suze. We were talking about this idea. So for her and I, we have to get to the bottom of what that story is or what the circumstance has been to get freedom.
Yeah.
So often you'll hear in cliched description of coaching, we don't go back, we don't look at what's happened, we just move forward like powerful machines into the glorious future, Anyway, I can't move forward as a powerful machine into the glorious future until I go, what is that story that I've been telling myself or whatever else? And when I unlock that story, often I can go from immense confused suffering to total freedom and joy. Like Andy will say, I turn on a dime.
Yeah.
I will. Like you'll say something or Danielle or Dan will say something. I go, like Dan said something this morning. I was like, I think you might be onto something. And that opens the door.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a long way of asking, What do you think about this idea of this? I see it like as almost being a detective. What is that historic event? What's that story? What's the thing that stuck me? How can I get free? Do you see a lot of that happening in your coaching, or do you think it's just a preference that myself and my friend have for how we unlock what's happening?
I think it's all about that.
Okay.
It's all about that. I think to say that we can just move forward without healing from the past is quite a egotistical view of who we are as people. To be in the present moment is to really mean and honor all the history that has passed, right? And all the future that is to come. Like, to be in the moment now. I look at you and it's like, whoa, she's had all these experiences and I'm only getting a glimpse of this being now, but who are you, right? And we've had all these experiences. And so fundamentally, when we have these experiences, a lot of them, the way that we are as adults, begins so far back with experiences and memories we don't even really remember.
Yes.
So I think I may have mentioned the book to you, What Happened to You, with Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. A great, great, great book. I think everyone should read it. And he actually talks about a research in, I want to say Romania. I may be wrong, but I think it is.
Yes.
And where they studied orphans. And this was, I think, post-war. So they had orphans who were left in a cot by themselves.
Yes.
And then another orphanage where there were 2 babies in a cot. And years later, when they looked back at these orphans, they found that the orphans that were left by themselves had not as much emotional regulation. They had difficulty building trust and close relationships. Even though they had gone on to foster homes and had loving families after.
Ah, yes.
And he actually said from the ages of 0 to 2 months is probably the most affecting. And what happens to us in that 0 to 2 months can be more affecting than what happens to you, even though it's a traumatic event when you're later on in your teens. So I think it is so important to understand that if you're just going to keep driving towards those goals, then the driving, that's what it feels like. You're driving and you're striving and striving and striving, and then you don't have that balance, and that's what happens, right? But if you can heal from the past and go, okay, something's happened here. I don't know exactly what it is, but this is the decision that I made somewhere. So imagine somebody who is superstitious, right? That's their personality, that's their character.
Yes.
And they maybe saw their aunt one day their favorite aunt avoiding a black cat. And the aunt said, because it's unlucky. And so they form a impression that, there's something called unlucky and a black cat can cause that, right? Yes. And then they see their auntie doing it a few times, and that seed of thought then becomes a decision. And it becomes such a decision that now you yourself start avoiding that black cat, and you do that over and over again, and it becomes a belief. And then you also find that there are other things that can cause unluckiness, like walking under a ladder.
Yes.
Right? I don't know what other things cause unluckiness. I'm obviously not superstitious.
Yes,
but
good.
So you do end up having all these other behaviors, and then you become a superstitious person. So that's your personality. So you have to go back to that time where you made that decision where that black cat may actually be unlucky.
Right.
So I think, yes, you have to honor the history always if you want to move away from that striving to this balanced way of living and being and thriving, right?
And when you talk about that 0 to 2 months, what was his name again? Perry?
Dr. Bruce Perry.
Dr. Bruce Perry, what happened to you?
What happened to you?
Okay. And
Fabulous
Oprah's
book.
involved, which is always good.
Yeah.
So that what is interesting to me about that is he said in the first 2 months of your life. So I've had a long-running theory based on myself or on friends and some education around the idea. I think it was Winnicott, the psychoanalyst, talked about good enough mothering. Good enough mothering. And good enough mothering was, like it sounds, not a perfect mother, but a good enough mother.
Yeah.
And interestingly, when I think of people who've had many difficulties in life, and are often some of the best people I know in terms of their heart and spirit and generosity and love, they're wonderful, but they haven't had a stable self-esteem or haven't had a good self-view or haven't felt safe in the world. When I think about those people, that 0 to 2 months was impacted.
Yeah.
And their young life was very impacted.
Yeah.
And when I think about this, of course, that's pre-language. So you've got what's happened, and then you've got your ability to analyse it with your speaking mind. And then, of course, there's a whole other level of, oh, geez, I wasn't even talking, but I wonder what happened then.
Yeah.
So, when I think about different therapies, somatic therapies, energetic therapies, hypnosis, the different things, when I think about my own life, when I've accessed that far back, I had a very successful kinesiology session many years ago and saw something I'd felt as a baby.
Yeah.
I saw when I did my work with Lockie, who I did a lot of coaching with recently, we did work that went really well back into my young childhood. And like you were saying, there was actually a moment that happened that neither of my parents would have probably even still remember, or if they did, they'd remember it lightheartedly. And it was a pivotal moment of deciding I wasn't safe in life and I wasn't loved.
Yeah.
And I was probably 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
So when you're coming across people and they're like, I don't know why I don't feel good enough about myself, or how can people explore that in these very young times? What do you find is an effective way to look at that?
So one of the things that I do is something called timeline therapy. And in timeline therapy, we actually, we use a bit of hypnotic language patterns, and then we put the client into a state of relaxation. And then we actually ask the question, what is the first event when disconnected will cause this problem to disappear? Right? And so and then we actually say, was it before, during, or after your birth? Because it doesn't matter what I believe or what the client even believes.
Yes.
But it's just about where the brain needs to go right now to heal from what you think could be the event that you need to go to. So I've had clients say it was before birth, it was during birth, it was after birth. So if they say, well, if it's before birth, then I'll ask, was it passed to you genealogically or was it a past life? Right? And some people may say, yep, passed down to me by an ancestor or 3 lifetimes ago. And some people might say, no, I was in my mother's womb. So they say before is like in the womb or before. And then they say, okay, if it's in the womb, then is it 3 months in the womb or 4 months in the womb, whatever you want it to be like. And I really, really am such a big fan of this particular intervention, because that was one of the ways that as I was learning to be a coach, I got rid of anxiety. Because I was carrying there was always this undertone of nervousness in me, as a kid. And because my mum is a very anxious person. She's toned down a lot now, but I grew up with a very, very anxious mom.
Yes.
So when I did that timeline therapy intervention with another coach, I actually went back to a time when I was 3 months old as a fetus, and I could feel like I was taking on this anxiety that was not even mine. And it's crazy where the mind needs to go to, but we just don't question it, because if unconsciously that's where your mind needs to go, then just trust the process and heal from it. And I have not had that. I mean, of course, we feel, nervous from time to time, but that hold that it had on me, it just dissipated, So it's really, really fascinating.
Well, even the thing for me, because I'm very much about what's the effect of something. So for me, whether it's true, not true, anything else, if the person gets freedom from, I feel like it was 6 generations ago, I don't care if they get the freedom from it, right?
Yes.
I tend to believe in everything with a pinch of salt. That's sort of everything. I go, that could be absolutely right, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But if it gets the person the outcome, then wonderful, right? Now, you said a line, but I didn't catch it fully. When was the time that if we broke that, what was that thing?
What is the first event?
First event.
So the root cause of the problem. What is the root cause of the problem?
Yes.
The first event, when disconnected, will cause the problem to disappear. Yeah.
How
so
cool.
That's where we're going to.
Yeah, how cool.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
might do that one together.
Cool.
We've talked about doing it, haven't we?
We have.
We've talked about doing it. That's awesome. It's interesting, I find, for me, it's a very cliched thing about taking the peeling the layers of the onion, right? But what I notice as I continue to work to gain greater freedom and generosity and love for myself and others, you know, I joke with Danielle all the time, oh, I thought I was done. I have this thing where I just want to be done, right? And I get it's hilarious, like it's not going to happen. And on the other hand, I have this fantasy, right? But as I look at different things, when I think, oh, no, I was done, what's often the case is the thing that I was still using as a prop or a comfort or a way of being disassociated, it's looking at the next level. And it's interesting because I'm in the next layer of the onion right now and I'm going to come and do some work with you about it. You can't see what is going to come of that. And it's useful, actually. Danielle said to me ages ago on a Friday 50-50, isn't it exciting when you feel that feeling like you're in the weeds because you know you're going to... And I was like, yeah, no, it doesn't feel exciting. But she helped me think, actually, if I am experiencing this, what's happened historically is there's the next layer of freedom to come from it. And at the moment it's around, without going into detail because I'll talk to you about it one-on-one, but there's an uncovering of what my drivenness has been covering, right?
Yes.
So I've been looking at it for a while, but we're at a point of pain now, Usha. Like, isn't it exciting? I'm going to get a great breakthrough number, 87,000.
In the journey,
Right? But, you know, like I said, you know, Dan and I were talking about things this morning and I said, because I'm not someone that will go, oh, I don't like this, I'll go backwards. There's nothing to do but go through it.
Yeah.
I said to Lockie when I had him here, Lockie Samuel Mariu, who's been a wonderful coach for me and for many people, great speaker, and as I was interviewing him and he was talking about different elements of his life and I said, I think you just had to push through it, didn't you? Like, and he said, I said, you had to act. And I've sort of got this theory around his Maori culture and all the rest and his power from that. That's totally made up, but I like it. So I entertain myself with it. But as he, you know, he said, yeah, I can't really go, oh, this is too hard, so I'll stop. So you kind of have to keep going because there's no real other choice with the beauty that's potentially on the other side, right?
Yeah, and I see a couple of things there, like from what you said. The first is what in NLP coaching we call it parts.
Okay.
So there are different parts to us, right? One that wants to exercise, one that doesn't want to exercise, one that wants to eat healthy, one that really wants that burger, you know?
Yeah.
There's all these parts. And it's just about bringing those parts together and understanding that you're one integrated whole. So with what you were talking about, that drive, that achievement, there's that part that is like, even if I were to, with coaching, we call it parts integration. And it often happens like, I'll just say, okay, that part were to come out and stand on a hand, what hand would it stand on? And then you get, it could be on the left or right hand, and then I'll ask them, does it look or sound or feel like somebody you know? And often they will get this, actually always, they will get somebody in there. It could be like a younger version of themselves. A lot of times it's their parents.
Yes.
It has been a time where it was like a very harsh teacher who was a bit traumatizing to a person, or maybe a perpetrator if they were abused, you know? So then you have to speak to that part, because every problem that we encounter has a positive intention. And that's the thing that a lot of us don't want to face. The fact that we are constantly repressing this voice, and that voice just wants to come out and be heard, because like when we talk about the unconscious mind in coaching, we talk about how it's like a 5-year-old, and it's really, really simple. And it just wants those 4 things we spoke about: seen, heard, understood, and loved. And you are not hearing this unconscious mind. You've not given it the space because you're constantly repressing this emotion and fighting against that thing, right? And what you repress expresses itself over and over and over, right? So then we have to talk about, we talk to that problem and go, what is the positive intention of your problem? Like, come out and just speak and be heard. And be seen and be okay to be loved. And then the other part that's fighting comes on the other hand, and it usually has a completely different image with a completely different voice and a completely different feeling. But what you do is, as you talk to the both parts, you'll find that they both have the same intention. So we call that chunking up. So you chunk up to the purpose, and their hands actually move. Like you can feel their hands like moving and like almost coming together. And then as the hands come together, then we talk about how you can take that and put it part of your integrated whole person concept. So yeah, it's very fascinating when you look at parts.
Yeah, powerful, right?
Yeah.
And when you talk about feeling and emotion, you know, I made a poster for myself of Rumi's guest house, right? Because that had and continues to be something that I traditionally didn't do at all, and these days do, but up and down, you know, struggle with allowing the emotion to come through, do a lot of meditation around it. But I love the guest house and talking about, you know, welcome them even if they sweep all the furniture aside, you know. But I get why we try and repress it, because we don't know what that emotion is going to say and what the consequence of that emotion is. And I think that unknown is often, certainly for myself, is what we have, we're not feeling that, because it's like, what's on the other side of that, or how much grief is there, or how much pain, or how much more work to do, you know. But yeah, my own experience has been the only way to move forward is to allow that voice and that emotion to be there, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything's always over the top of, and a tight lid has to stay on.
Yeah.
Do you ever meet anyone and you go, wow, you've so got it all together, but I'm getting a great sense that if a tiny crack happened, there'd be an explosion of...
Yeah.
It's a real thing to meet someone like that who's moving forward powerfully.
Yeah, I know someone like that actually, and I don't think that person realizes that I get that sense from them.
Yeah.
You can only love them at the end of the day, right?
Well, that's right.
But I just have this thing like, there is something under the surface, and then I hope you're going to be okay, you know?
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah.
I hope when it comes out, it's manageable and the process is manageable.
Yeah. It's like that, what's that lovely Encanto, you know that song, Under the Surface, Under the Surface. It's like, and there's just that one little hair that's just going to break her.
Yeah.
And
I know.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful. I love when fiction can create a whole world and you can get all these lessons, but you don't have to get the lessons from non-fiction. It's fiction, right? But they can tell a beautiful story.
And it's so coaching related because it's all about intergenerational trauma
right?
as well, you know?
I know.
Yeah, family dynamics and how that plays a part in our environment and our beliefs and the language that we use. Like, language is such a big part of coaching. It's like the first layer of, like, you know, when I talk about cause and effect. So in the very first session, I always talk about cause and effect. And then we have to learn, teach, like, language. How do you use language? So focus on language is usually the main things that come about in the first few sessions. And it's something so simple like using the word try, right? Because this is like if I had a cup of tea here, this is me picking up the cup of tea, right? Maybe I shouldn't have made that sound because it's going to echo in the thing, but that's all right.
It's all right.
But just to demonstrate, this is me trying to pick up the cup of tea.
Yeah.
Can you see the energetic difference in just the words that we use?
Yes.
You know, and we don't realize that our words carry so much weight and energy and effort with, I'm just picking up the cup, but if I'm trying, so one of the first things I get people to do is eliminate the word try.
Yeah.
And eliminate the word don't, because our mind doesn't remember the word don't. Because if I said to you, don't think of a lemon, you're thinking of a lemon,
I
right?
am, sadly. It's worked beautifully.
And also, if I say think of a lemon, you are not thinking LEMON. You are thinking of a picture of a lemon.
That's right.
So not only do we have to avoid the words that give you the wrong... Basically, what I'm saying is we have to use the words that give us the right pictorial instructions. Because our mind needs pictorial instructions.
Yes.
Right? So instead of saying don't run, it's be safe.
Yes.
You know, and instead of saying to yourself, I'm not sure if I'm not going to get the promotion or not, just validate that, you are not sure. That's fine. The feelings are valid. And what am I going to do next to ensure that this is something that I can put in my timeline or in a goal? Like, what is the picture that I want to see? What is it that I actually want?
Yes.
So many people, when I ask them what they want, they tell me all the things they don't want. Like, I had someone who wanted a partner. And I said, okay, what are you looking forward to in a partner? And the first thing the person said was like, oh, my ex was this. I don't want somebody who does this. I don't want somebody who does that. I don't very, very clear about what you don't want and completely unclear about what they want. Before I met my husband, I wrote 100 things that I want in a man, that I'm attracting in a man. 100 things. People tell me that's a lot, but
I think it's a lot. It's cool,
I had
though.
100 things in there.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And I think I scored in the husband department. You know him, so you know.
I do. Yeah, I think you did pretty well.
Yeah. So I think it's, so really using how our language, but then with that comes with what are we actually focusing on? Are we focusing on the feeling of being loved? Because that's what you're actually looking for. And, if we look at human beings, all our motivations come from the emotion that we're feeling. So you can use all the right words, but if the emotion underneath those words is still self-doubt, like, okay, I can do this, I'm getting that promotion, I'm doing this, I'm starting the podcast, but underneath it's self-doubt or self-loathing or unsurety and uncertainty, then that energy doesn't move you into motivation and acting the right way or holding your body in the right way. So along with language, and there's focus, and then it's embodying that within yourself, in your body, in all your trillions and trillions of cells. Like, how are you embodying that? So there's so much that happens in coaching.
Yeah, there really
around
is.
that, yeah.
It's like Andy and I sometimes talk about affirmations, and, you have to believe the affirmation or your body will kind of fight against it. So, you can say, I'm a beautiful princess. Look in the mirror, I'm a beautiful princess. And then your body goes, you're not really a beautiful princess. And then it's almost worse, right? Whereas one of the things he's been doing is this incremental improvement in habits. And one of the ideas is that as you do them, you learn, your ego particularly learns almost secretly, I am this new thing. So you don't have the big battle. So he got me to do very incremental starts on being on the exercise bike. Yeah. And when he first said, I was like, 30 seconds, like nothing's going to happen, and he said, I just want you to try it. And of course, because it is 30 seconds, you do it every day. And then it's a minute, and then it's 2 minutes. And now, of course, I'm at the physio fixing my knees, and, he's not mucking around, this guy. So he goes, okay, you better get on the bike. And because I'd had some weeks doing this tiny amount, it has been less of a thing to get on. And also how I know myself is less over time of, I'm not someone that would do that. Because there's so much. There's a David White poem that talks about I'll say it ineloquently, but there's the point in it where he says, do you think you'll actually die if something good happens? Because our ego and our identity can be so strongly associated. Like, when we're talking about victim mentality, people get a lot from being a victim. They don't actually, but their ego gets a great story, right? And it's how they know themselves. Yes. And that ownership of that, this is who I am, even if it's something very negative, can be quite a hard thing to break, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like the next level. So after we look at language and focus, cause and effect, the next level is actually personality, values, and identity. Because like with the superstitious person example, right? So your value is now living this life of not taking risks.
Yeah.
And that's a value that you hold here because of all the decisions that you've made that led to this belief, which is now your value, and therefore your identity is, I'm superstitious, or this is the way I am, and this is my personality.
Yes.
Right? And true change actually comes when we are able to shift that level of identity. And you're right, you have to be this new person. And a lot of people want to make that change so fast, like they want that 180-degree change straight away. And what you did with the 30 seconds, that's the best way. In coaching, we talk about 1-degree changes. It's like hitting a golf ball, you make that 1-degree change, but over time, the trajectory of that 1 degree is a lot. But then if over time you're making constant 1-degree changes, then then that 180 doesn't feel like a striving thing. Yeah. It feels more like balance. And I'm just every day I'm just doing something a little bit more balanced. And then, you have that sense.
There's something about, I don't know about everyone else's nature, but my nature, it's really getting to terms with the fact small changes will make the biggest difference. Certainly for me, I want the, done. And I was actually talking with my auntie, who's my godmother and one of my major spiritual and life coaches in my life. and we were talking about this only a couple of days ago, and she was saying she'd had a particular experience. And I said, sometimes I feel like I will get something like that. I'll get it.
Yeah.
But then the rest of me will catch up over time and I'll be quite frustrated because I'm like, I got that straight away. Why am I reacting? And it's actually been this new process I've been looking at. Wow, I get it intellectually because I'm fast moving, fast thinking. I will get it like night and day miracle.
Yeah.
But then I'll go, why am I feeling funny 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
I got it 2 weeks ago, Usha.
Yeah.
And there's something about the rest of me going, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What did you decide? Because we're still back here and you've realised this. Wonderful, but we haven't caught up.
Yeah.
And it's actually, a new part of this process has been this idea of slowing down and the discomfort around slowing down. What do you mean slowing down? We've got places to be, Usha.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting when all the different facets are, like you said, the different parts are all trying to be heard and different drivers and different things in play. And and I think it is, for me, I love having the intention of continuing to heal and grow and learn and love. But it's no joke to make that decision because you go, I want to be the freest, most loving, most evolved version of myself in this lifetime. And then the universe goes, all right.
Yeah. Let's test that, shall we? Let's make sure you can do that.
Right.
And that's the thing, like a lot of us are so focused on the transformation that we forget that there is a layer of discovery required to make that transformation. And that discovery takes time. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you have to give yourself the time that you need based on your past experiences and your beliefs and the values that you hold and how it may impact other people around you as well. And that's all that catching up that can happen, right? But a lot of times we're so focused on the transformation, we forget to be in that exploration and that discovery and that enjoyment of that process. And we're just holding on to the transformation. How can it come quick enough? So I think there is that whole piece where I do allow my clients to rest in that. I call it, there's things that I give them to do at home and they go back and it's called home joys because it's something that you do at home to give you joy, right? And it's not the phrase that I coined. It's something one of my participants in a workshop once said to me, and I said, "Oh, can I steal that for myself?" So she's given me full permission to use the word home joys. And sometimes I don't give them extra home joys. And I'm like, no, you just keep doing that all once this week. And we talk about other things. We do certain interventions, but you keep doing just those home joys because you need to just stay in that exploration, discovery a little bit more before we move on to the next thing, So it really does depend on the personality and the values, and that's like the next layer. And then the final layer, which is the whole connectedness, right? How do we connect to ourselves in a more infinite form of space and time and energy, right? How do we connect with others and have that complete love and empathy for someone, even though they're pissing you off royally, right? So how do you remain connected to that love? How do you connect to the universe? And so it's beyond identity. So there's stuff beyond identity, and that's like the full, I guess you can look at it spiritually, but I just call it connectedness.
It's when, for me, having that experience of being connected and being in, I suppose, my higher conscious or my true self, it's really, I always think that must be what, if there's a heaven, it must be what heaven's like. You just spend a lot of time there because it is heavenly. It's really blissful. But you've really helped me when you said, because I am someone who's like, what's next, when you said to sit in the process of transformation, it actually, just you saying that gave me a permission to do something I never allow myself to be okay with. And the quiet voice, so I have my quiet voice, it's very wise. It's unfortunately quite quiet compared with the screeching banshee that is the other part. I don't know if I put one on one hand, it's like, but that quiet part, I jokingly said here, but I wasn't joking. I said, I think I'm going to take long service leave November, December, January.
Right.
Now, I'm not an employee, as you know, Usha, so there's certain financial consequences and I need to negotiate with my husband. But I think that's actually what you were talking about around giving space and time. The quiet voice said, a lot's happened, there's a lot to come. Let's have a little break. Let's have a little allowance of time to let some things process, let some things sit, have some literal rest. There's been some big shifts that have already happened. And then, of course, the louder part comes in and goes, nope, nope, nope.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that I will use that, like I'll literally make a note of that idea of it's okay to have the period of time around the transformative element. And I agree, it doesn't have to be that long, but giving it permission will reduce my pain and it not happening fast enough, right? Because I'm like, what am I doing, Usha? What am I doing with my time? I had the breakthrough. I saw this, I saw that. I should be apples. Why am I not apples? And then, of course, the why am I not apples, like you were saying, the resistance to feeling sad or tired or whatever, because I'll berate myself, not allow myself to move through it, so much energy goes into that. That it makes the whole process quite twisted when it doesn't actually even need to be.
Correct.
If I just allow myself a bit of space and grace.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, grace. I like that. And even when we set goals, like one of the things we talk about in goal setting with coaching is it a toward goal or is it an away goal? So we can say all the words of, I want to be, I think the most classic example is people who want to lose weight, right? So people a lot of times say, I want to lose 5 kilos.
Yes.
Right? They don't say, I want to be 70 kilos.
Yeah,
right. They say, I want to lose 5 kilos.
So
if they say, I want to lose 5 kilos, that's an away goal. So let's say this is, can I use this?
Yeah.
Yep. So let's say that's my goal.
Yes.
Right? And I can either face towards my goal and go towards my goal, or I can actually face away from the goal and go towards the other direction. So it's a bit difficult with that, but
that's all right.
I'll use my hands. Let's try
use your
again.
hands. Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
So this is my goal, and I'm facing my goal, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to be 60 kilos, 60 kilos, 60 kilos, and then you get to your goal. But if you're not facing your goal, and you are whenever you are facing away from your goal, you get to a certain point close to enough to your goal, but then because you're looking the other way, you'll keep bouncing back. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you actually need to turn around and face your goal. So that's what I'm talking about, like with language and focus. Great. Now you've got a little bit of that language, but what is your mind? What's the pictorial instruction? What is the focus that you have? What is the focus of the emotion that you're holding in your body? Is it something that's still away from, that's pushing you, that's making you look this direction?
Yes.
Or is it actually getting you to turn around and look towards your goal, which is why there's a lot of people yo-yo with their weight, because they get far enough away from the thing they're avoiding, but not enough to reach their goal.
That totally makes sense. And with the if I want to lose 5 kilos, what's actually in my mind is the original weight that I don't want to be. So
Right.
it keeps drawing you back to it because it's like, yes, because 5 kilos less than this is that, but the actual number is the original number.
Yes, so you keep yo-yoing back. So it's a towards goal or an away goal, and you're giving yourself the wrong pictorial instruction.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah,
It's perfect.
You get it.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah. You may have heard Tony Robbins say before, he talks about people's personal thermostats. This is to do with this idea of identity and ego and all the rest, the things that will want us to look a certain way. So he'll say, and I've seen this happen with my weight as an example, you'll have a personal thermostat. So you'll go, I can be X amount of kilos or X amount of kilos, but no greater and no lower. So if you're trying to lose weight, it'll stop you losing as much as you want. It'll also stop you getting to a point where you're much heavier than you might otherwise be. And we have these thermostats for all areas in our life. And it's just a way, I believe, of talking about our identity or ego. I'm not this, I'm that. I'm not this, I'm that. And we tell ourselves these stories all the time. But yeah, that's very, very useful towards goal or away goal. And also the feeling of it is very different. One is of a forward-moving positive gain, and the other is almost being chased by the thing you don't want, right?
Yeah,
and it's right there,
correct.
wanting to be the kilos or the partner or whatever you're trying to get away from.
Yeah.
But your focus is actually back there, not there.
Yeah, and also, like you said, like what's driving it? Is it the ego? And like with the cause and effect, one of the things that we speak about in like one of the things I speak about in my coaching sessions is that that you either can feed your ego, or what is the opposite of that is actually feed your self-worth. Because a lot of times when we feed the ego, we think we're feeding our self-worth and our confidence, right? But then we get to that point where it's either too unbearable, or you're feeling imposter syndrome, or you are just unbearable to be around, and deep down you know you're an arrogant so-and-so,
Yes.
but you just can't change yourself, or you wonder why people are not being kind to you, you know,
Yes.
or you don't even realize that you're that way. So you can feed the ego, but then we have to turn around and go, okay, that's actually, when I do that, I'm actually feeding my ego. And that takes a lot of reflection. Not a lot of people are willing to face that.
No.
So when you are ready to face that, you realize, it's actually so easy.
Yeah.
It's actually not as bad. I actually just have to do the same things, but my focus is now different.
Yes.
You know, my focus is, how is this feeding my self-worth as a person? So even if I am feeling nervous, or I feel like that imposter syndrome, if I did this a certain way, or if I spoke about my vulnerabilities a bit more openly, or if I can actually, you know, a lot of times, you know, I had a client the other day who needed to go up on stage and do a big presentation, and they were so worried about, you know, what other people might think or what the partners might think, and there were certain partners who were not specifically in liking or in alignment with this, but with my clients. So their thought processes were all about, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? How do I perceive this, or how do I change their perception? Although they're thinking they're coming from a place of love, that's actually feeding the ego, because it's all about you. But when you come from self-worth, how that narrative changes is, it doesn't matter what I say or what I do. I am going to speak my truth, and whatever outcome I release, because I've spoken my truth and I've done what is right for me in this time, in this place, with the resources that I have, and I'm going to hold myself accountable for whatever happens. But more than that, I'm going to just expand my energy and speak with love, like right from the heart. And we did a few anchoring techniques with the person, and the person said at the end, those partners that they were afraid of actually came and said, well, we really actually enjoyed that a lot. Now you can see why you're thinking the way you're thinking and say what you're saying. So he had to let go of that ego part. And it's such a fine line, because it looks like the same thing.
It does. It's so tricky, right?
But then the energy focus changes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the emotional focus changes. And then it becomes this whole other ball game. And then you feel like you're having fun doing it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the client was like, I felt like my whole energy was just expanded and filled up the whole room when I gave that presentation. So I was like, yay!
Oh, that is so yay. That would have been like a miracle for that client.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the impact he would have had on the room, or she would have had on the room, amazing, right? When I shared about being over on the silent retreat, one of the first things I did, I wanted to get confidence. That was the word I said. One of the first things I did was try and feed my ego by telling myself all the things I did well.
Yeah.
So I'd say, you're good at this, you're good at that. And I felt like it was working. I wasn't talking to anyone because it was silent retreat. And then we had to go into this group session. And when it was my time to share, I went, I had this idea of what I was going to share, but now I don't want to. And then I burst into tears, and it was because I was just sort of telling myself the same story I'd always used to try and build myself up, but it didn't feel like me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I was lucky enough to have the rest of the time there and the breakthroughs I had, and got to this sense of having worth as a being, right? And much closer to what you're talking about, being aligned with, I don't have to do a particular thing.
Yeah.
And that was very, very, very different as an outcome of where I would get worth from, you know. So, yeah, that's so wonderful. You must have, I hope you feel as happy as you should around the difference you made to that person.
I always feel very happy when I hear these things.
Isn't it the best? It's the best thing about being a coach, when you get these amazing outcomes, you know. And also it's so satisfying because you've helped the person, but they've done it.
Yes.
So I love that combination of, if people thank me as a coach, I go, you're welcome, and it was you. It was you.
Yeah. I know, I always struggle with the word help, but it's a difficult one, because when you're writing things, that's kind of the one that comes up because a lot of people can associate with it. I always look at myself like, I don't help people. I might say, I help busy people find balance, but it's more like, no, I'm just your coach, I'm your cheerleader, I'm your guide or facilitator, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not helping you. You are actually helping yourself. I'm just they're giving you some tools and strategies and, the things that you
I would
need.
agree with that, but I would also say you're more than that. So, yes, you are certainly a guide and a cheerleader and things like that, but I would actually say you're a conduit. So, you're giving them access to themselves through the tools you've learnt, the practices you've done. So, they are doing it, but without your ability to connect them to what they need to connect with,
Yeah,
So,
I'll have to steal that from you.
You
then.
can. You can. I liked it. It came to me and I thought, that's my gift to you.
Thank you
You're
very
a conduit.
much.
Now, you have 2 exciting events coming up next year that we wanted to talk about.
Yes.
So what can you tell us about it? So we've got one event in March and one in May.
Yes.
All right,
so
lovely.
the March is a retreat. It's from the 6th to 8th to March, and it's in Yellingup in this amazing place, retreat venue called Premalaya, which in Sanskrit actually means place of love. Yeah, because Prema is love, Alaya is like home, right? Or place. So it's in Premalaya and Yellingup. And I am partnering with my personal trainer to do this.
Hey.
And yeah, my personal trainer is amazing. I met her earlier this year, and she's just one of those very solid human beings. Like, she knows who she is. She's very, very confident in what she knows. She's always learning and growing, and she's so open to other possibilities of life, but also very grounded in the way she is. And she just takes things like health and nutrition in a very practical way that I like, and I've never done 21-day challenges or 80-day challenges. I just don't believe in that, because a lot of people take on these challenges and they do well, but then they have a crash after.
Yeah.
Or they think that, now I have to keep going. And then when they don't do that, they feel bad about themselves and start that whole process again. So with her training, she looks at it from the point of you train less and you eat more, but you eat more of the right foods. And then she teaches you what are those right foods and stuff are, how to eat for your metabolism and things like that. And then how do you actually train less? Because a lot of people want to exercise like 4 or 5 times a week or 6 times a week, or they think I have to go every day and do something. But she actually teaches you the right way to move your body so that you are doing that, the right things, that even if you did train less, you're okay. You don't have to break your back training. So partnering with her name is Hayley Beckett, fabulous lady. And so I'm also a trained yoga instructor. So we're both going to be doing some yoga stuff. And then I'm also going to talk about the positive pillars of living well, which some of the things that we spoke about today, but I'm going to really break it down. Like, when I say focus, what does that actually look like? And for the language part, I've actually got worksheets that I give my clients that I'm going to be using at the retreat as well, so that people can start practicing straight away. We're going to have, nice moments of cacao ceremonies, moonlight dancing, a bit of creative art play, and lovely Ayurvedic food. Who the owner of the place, her name is also Hayley. So apparently 2026 is all about Haleys in March. Hail Haleys! So that's the retreat. Very, very excited, as you can tell.
Yeah, wonderful. So how do people find out more about it if they'd like to come?
Oh, yes. So just go to the website usha.club. So not .com, but .club, CLUB/retreats. So,
Usha.club/retreats.
yes.
Awesome. That
Yes.
sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
That sounds so good that I may be there.
Yay!
Wonderful. Now, there was something else happening in May. What's happening in May?
So in May, and I've been toying about doing this for a while now, and I met this trainer in Sydney a long time ago, and we've remained friends, and we sometimes even coach each other, because I believe that every coach needs a coach. If I'm going to be in coaching, then I should also constantly be coached, right?
Yes.
So her name is Sheila Singham. So she's going to be running a NLP practitioner course. And so whoever comes gets, and I'm going to be the assistant coach for that. And that's going to be 9 days, and you get 3 certifications: NLP coach, NLP practitioner, and also timeline therapy practitioner, which I spoke about. So that's 9 full days. And that is in the first week of May. I will get back to you on the dates. So maybe you can put in your show notes after, but it's definitely the first week. From memory, it's the 2nd to the 9th of May.
Okay.
And if you go to usha.club/NLP, you'll be able to find it.
Usha.club/NLP.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting one as well. I haven't done NLP training, heard about it a lot.
Yeah,
And a friend of mine actually gave me her training, and we've just moved house and did an enormous amount of reduction, and I kept this folder because I was like, I think that is still something I'd certainly at least like to explore, So I'll talk to you more about it off air.
Sure.
Yeah, cool, because it's obviously something you found very useful.
I would say finding NLP is what changed my life.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because it put me it put me on a trajectory of exploring personal growth. But what it allowed me to believe, or rather reassess my belief, is up until I didn't have NLP, I was trying a lot. I was working very hard. I was in the events industry. We were working, 12, 14-hour days easy. And I was doing all the right things according to what I've been taught to believe.
Yes.
But I just couldn't find that peace, the abundance, the balance, or even the promotion, because I was in a place where there was a lot of racism happening and all that sort of stuff. And I was, really trying to prove my worth as being the only brown woman, who didn't speak the language, and, going in there, learning all the language. And,
wow.
So there's so much of that. And when I found NLP, it's what really made me understand that my belief systems are running my life. And some of those belief systems were, as a brown woman, this is going to be harder. You have to work twice as hard as everyone else to prove your worth.
Yes.
You can't speak up, and you have to be less vocal.
Yes.
More or less, but less vocal if you want to be respected.
Yes.
Your voice needs to come out in a little bit more loving fashion because you're brown and they might take it the wrong way. Or there's all these limiting decisions and beliefs around. And yes, of course, I had those experiences. So what it taught me was I need to leave certain environments, and that's why I left and came to Australia. That was one reason. And then it looked at my skills, my capabilities, and looked at how I was using language, how was I redefining my emotional patterns, my emotional signatures that I was sending out to other people, and how I could actually build my self-worth. And it just set me on this trajectory to discovering so many other things. Like NLP was the thing that opened the door towards me eventually finding meditation and mindfulness and timeline therapy and positive psychology and all this other self-determination theory, like all these things that I ended up learning was because I put my foot in the door with NLP. So I always have Caden Chang. Shout out to Caden Chang, who he's in Singapore, and he's the first workshop I attended, and he did my NLP prac training. And it's so funny that his name is Chang, which is just one letter sort of change.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I'll have to tell him to listen to this episode.
Yeah,
so,
do.
Chang, thank you.
So how long ago was it that you did that work with him?
Oh, gosh. 2000 and... What year is it now? It's, I think, 2008 or 9.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels like it was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. So, I've been on the path for a long time.
Yes, I can relate. Yeah, I was doing my coaching diploma at Curtin when you were doing your NLP. About 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Time flies, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Cliche, but wow. So true. Was there anything that we haven't spoken about today that you'd like to speak about in this episode?
I think I'm pretty happy. I think we had a great chat.
Yeah, I did
if I say so myself.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure speaking with you. And
you
thank
too.
you so much again for having me and, just always being such a amazing, loving, wonderful human being that you are to not just me but everybody around you.
Thanks,
thank you
Usha.
for being you, Tam.
Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks very much. Lovely. Thank you for having you here. Did that even make sense? I think I was thrown by your love. I normally say we'll edit that out, but we won't. It was delightful to have you here. Yeah, no, that was beautiful. Thank you. I've had a bit of a hard week, so it especially landed very well for me right in this moment. So, I really appreciate it. Lovely,
Thank you.
Usha.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Like what you heard? Like and subscribe.